All right, let's just jump right in, because today we're talking about one of the weirdest, most brilliant ideas in all of philosophy, and that's Aristotle's concept of God. Get this, it's a God powerful enough to move the entire universe by doing absolutely nothing. Yeah, you heard that right. So, how does that even work? So, to really wrap our heads around what Aristotle was getting at, you have to understand just how completely different his idea of God was from, well, pretty much any concept of God you're probably familiar with. We're not talking small details here. This is a total 180.
And you can really see that contrast here. On one side, you've got the God most of us know, right? A creator who builds the universe, gets involved, a personal being. But then there's Aristotle's God, doesn't create a thing, doesn't act in the world, and it's totally impersonal, totally detached. It's just a completely different way of thinking.
Which, brings us to the big question, right? Why would Aristotle, one of the greatest minds in history, come up with a God that's so inactive? It sounds bizarre, but trust me, he had a very specific, very huge problem that he was trying to figure out. And that problem wasn't what you might think. He wasn't trying to answer, how did the universe begin? For Aristotle, that was kind of the wrong question to even ask. No, he was obsessed with something else entirely. What keeps everything going? You see, for Aristotle, the universe didn't have a beginning. It wasn't created. It was eternal. It has always been here, and it always will be. So the big mystery for him wasn't creation, it was motion. Why does everything keep moving? Something had to be the ultimate reason for the endless, perfect motion of the stars and planets. And you have to remember his picture of the cosmos. For him, the Earth was smack dab in the center. The planets, the stars, everything revolved around us. And way out at the very edge of everything were the fixed stars, spinning in this perfect, circular, never-ending motion. Now, for Aristotle, and this is key, motion didn't just keep going on its own. It needed a constant cause. So what was the ultimate engine driving this whole celestial machine? And this is where he lands on his incredible solution, a concept that is as elegant as it is, strange. He called it the unmoved mover. The name itself is a total paradox, right? This is the ultimate source of all motion and all change in the entire cosmos. Everything from the planets wheeling in the sky to a tiny seed growing into a tree, it all comes from this. And yet, this source itself is completely static. It's perfect, and it is absolutely unchanging. Okay, so why can't it move? This is the core of it. Aristotle called its state pure actuality. Now think about it like this. Any kind of change or movement is just turning a potential into something actual, right? I have the potential to raise my hand, and then I actualize it by raising my hand. Simple. But a being of pure actuality has zero potential left to actualize. It's already perfectly, completely, 100% everything it could possibly be. There's no room for it to get better, and it can't get any worse. So it literally cannot change. Okay, so if it's completely unmoved, that leads us to the biggest, most mind-bending paradox of all. How in the world does an unchanging being cause all the change in the universe? Yeah, exactly. I know that's what you're thinking. If it's not pushing, if it's not pulling, if it's not exerting any kind of force, how can it possibly be a mover at all? This is where Aristotle's genius really kicks into high gear. He makes this brilliant distinction between two kinds of causes. First, you've got the one we all know, the efficient cause. That's basically a push. A domino hits another domino, which hits another one. But Aristotle says the unmoved mover works as a final cause. And you can think of a final cause as a pull. It's the goal, the purpose, the idea that inspires something to happen without physically touching it. Think about a sculptor. The idea of the finished statue in her mind is what guides her hands and the chisel. The idea itself doesn't push anything, but it's the reason for all the motion. And here it is. This is the big aha moment. The unmoved mover doesn't push the universe along, it attracts it. The entire cosmos, from the biggest stars to the smallest particles, is moved by a kind of cosmic desire, a philosophical love or wonder. Everything in the universe wants to imitate the perfection of the unmoved mover. It's an inspirational force, not a physical one. It's almost like it's a North Star for the entire universe, right? The North Star doesn't push your ship, it doesn't pull the sailor, it just is. It sits there in its perfect, unchanging position, and its very existence gives you a point to navigate by. It guides all the motion.
The universe is forever striving toward the perfection of the mover, and that striving is the motion we see. Okay, so if this perfect being isn't creating things or messing with the world, what is it doing for all eternity? I mean, what does a being of pure, perfect actuality do? The answer is both incredibly simple and incredibly weird. It's thinking. And to be even more specific, its only activity is thinking about its own thinking. That's it, for all of eternity. Just pure, unbroken self-contemplation. And believe it or not, there's a really strict logic to this. Just think it through. If it were to perceive our world, if it noticed a leaf falling from a tree, that information coming in would have to change its mental state. It would be moved by the leaf. But it's the unmoved mover, remember? So that's out. And it can't have a new idea, because coming up with a new idea would mean actualizing a potential thought it didn't have a second ago, also out. So what's left? The only possible activity for a perfect, unchanging mind is to think about the only perfect, unchanging thing it knows, itself. So where does all this leave us? What's the big takeaway from this amazing intellectual journey? Well, this idea, which people often call the philosopher's God, ended up having a massive influence on history and thought. So let's just do a quick recap of the big differences. You've got your traditional creator God, who acts and pushes. Aristotle's God inspires and pulls. One is personal and cares about the world, the other is completely impersonal and detached. And maybe the biggest one, a creator God knows everything, but Aristotle's God, in its absolute perfection, can only know the one perfect thing, itself. It's a totally different way of looking at the ultimate principle of reality. And this is its crucial legacy. Aristotle's whole project here was revolutionary. He was trying to get to the idea of God using only logic and his observation of the natural world. No sacred texts, no revelation. This whole approach became the foundation for what's known as natural theology, and it influenced thinkers for literally thousands of years, maybe most famously people like Thomas Aquinas. And that's why this idea is still so cool and worth wrestling with. It leaves us with this one last, really deep question to think about. How does our view of the universe change if its ultimate driving principle isn't a master craftsman who builds everything, but a perfect ideal that everything is drawn to, something to be admired? What does that mean for us? Pretty cool stuff to think about. Thanks for tuning in.